everybody, and welcome to the Remembering Akron podcast. I'm your host, Derek Maxfield, and today my guest is Mary Edwards Kelkenburg. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today.
It's good to be here.
So we're here to hear your story. You were born in 1945 in Cheektowaga, I understand.
Yes.
That's right at the end of World War II.
Yes, my parents moved here from Poughkeepsie in the Tyranda Housing Project in Cheektowaga. And I was 2 when they moved to Akron.
I see. Was anybody in your family affected by World War II? Anybody serve?
My father briefly, but he had a medical discharge. He wasn't in a whole year even.
Well, let's talk about your parents. Tell me about them.
My dad was Norton Edwards. He was born in Claryville, New York, down in Sullivan County in the Catskills.
Okay.
And he had several jobs there. Met my mother in Kingston, and she was from South Dakota. And when they were dating, probably for a couple of years, she got a state 4-H leader job in North Dakota and went back there for 7 years.
After they were married?
No, before.
Before they were married. That's kind of awkward.
Isn't it?
That's a long with distance romance.
I still have some of the letters that he sent her. And then in 1943, they got married in Chicago, where my aunt and my grandmother were. My grandfather homesteaded in South Dakota, and he had died in May, and they got married in July of 43.
Wow.
And settled in Poughkeepsie very briefly.
Now, that's a commitment, a 7-year long-distance romance. My goodness. That is a good story. Do you know the ethnic background of your parents or your other families? Have you done any genealogical work? Yes,
actually, I have some family tree things that people have done. And then my brother David had the DNA thing done.
Did he?
So my father was mostly English, some German, which we didn't know before this DNA thing.
All right.
And I think his mother was part Norwegian.
Okay.
And my mother was English and Scottish. Her family came over here, I think, in the 15 or 1600s. But many were born in Scotland.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting to know, isn't it?
It is.
All right. So you grew up in Cheektowaga?
Well, we were only there for 2 years.
Okay.
I moved to Akron just before I was 2.
And you went to a one-room schoolhouse in Akron.
I did.
Tell me about that.
It was branch school from the Akron Central School District, N12.
N12.
And the building is still there at the corner of Clarence Center and Cummings Road.
Is this the one they're talking about tearing down?
Yes.
Oh, no.
That would be a horrible thing. So I started in kindergarten and went through 6th grade. Most years, until 6th grade, always the same teacher, Helen Schisler. And
did you like her?
I loved her.
Okay, all right.
Everybody loved her. And there were 4 kids in my class. My older brother, he was alone in his class. And
that's awkward.
The biggest class I remember was 6 people, usually around 20-some people in the whole school. And I loved it. And you learned a lot about the subject matter, but also how to get along with kids that were younger and kids that were older than you. And we all played together for recess. And I think there was a music teacher, an art teacher, and a gym teacher that would come out from the central school here in town 1 day a week. But like for gym, we played outside, right. Even in the winter.
That's really cool.
It was fun.
And so when is it that you left the one-room schoolhouse and went on to bigger things?
I think I was in 6th grade, I think from fall of 56 to spring of 57. And then I came into Akron to the junior high.
Okay.
And graduated from Akron.
What was the size of your graduating class?
69.
Okay. Just actually 5 bigger than my own.
We were a smaller class than either the class ahead of us or behind us.
All right. Do you have any wonderful memories from high school? A sweetheart or
no.
A memorable homecoming?
Not really. I had friends that I'm still seeing sometimes.
Okay. Well, you told me you brought some yearbooks.
I didn't do a lot of things in Akron.
Uh-huh.
We used to skate at the park.
All right.
Yeah, but my parents didn't work in Akron, and we didn't do a whole lot of things in town.
I see. Interesting. All right. Well, you told me you brought some yearbooks, and maybe we'll get a few pictures of these.
Yeah.
What was it you wanted to talk about there?
I had pictures from those branch schools.
Oh.
And then in the back of them, they took advertising, which was interesting because a lot of the places are still there, and a lot of them are not there anymore in town.
And the one that you're paging through now, what year is that from?
1951.
1951.
So that would have been when I was in kindergarten.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, hopefully we'll add a couple of these pictures to the digital scrapbook that accompanies the podcast. So what did you do after you graduated high school, Mary?
I went to Buff State.
Did you?
Home ec ed.
And did you graduate?
I did.
So you were there for 4 years?
Yes.
Did you
graduated in 67. I did like it. And I have lifelong friends from college that I still see.
All right. And what did you do after you graduated from college?
I was a 4-H agent in Canton, New York for St. Lawrence County for only a year and a half. I met my ex-husband my senior year after I had accepted the job.
Okay.
But before I went.
All right.
So I only stayed a year and a half. Got married, settled in town of Newstead again, and then worked in Niagara County for about 3.5 years as a 4-H agent.
All right. And from there you went on to St. Lawrence, Niagara County, mental health?
I got a mental health job in Buffalo as a home economist, and then kind of fell into they called it counselor. It was like case management.
Okay.
Working with adults in Buffalo for 14 years. And then for another 14, I worked for Western New York Children's Psych Center as an intensive case manager in southern Chautauqua County.
That sounds like a stressful job.
It was.
Yeah.
I liked it, but...
Yeah. Did you have any particular memories from that time?
With the job?
Yeah, or somebody you met?
Some very good ones, and some, I think about some of those kids and wonder how they're doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of heartbreak.
I'll bet.
Because working with adults in Buffalo, they might have been more mentally ill in some ways, but I didn't know them as children, and children don't have control over their environment.
Yeah.
And the environment for most of them was very bad.
I'll bet. So I understand that you have 3 children. Tell me about them.
Scott is my oldest. He's married to Hillary, and they live over in Clarence Center on about a 50-acre farm. And Hillary's a teacher, and Scott is an assistant manager at a ski shop, but they board horses.
Do they?
Yes, they do. And Hillary gives riding lessons.
Nice.
And Hillary is originally from Kenmore.
Oh.
And loves being out in the country.
Okay. Well, she picked the right place for that.
Yep. They lived in Kenmore briefly and then moved and bought the farm.
Nice.
And then I have twins, Eric and Hope, and my grandson Isaac live right here in Akron in the village. And Hope is also a teacher. And Eric works does asbestos removal and demolition for a company from Akron.
So as hobbies, you have some really interesting hobbies here. So you're with the Society of Decorative Painters. Tell me what that is.
Decorative painting is, I said I'm not artistic, I tell people, but it's a learned skill where you start with a pattern. I use acrylics for a medium. I do some on my own. I take classes. We do activities. We meet once a month with the group from Buffalo area. And it's just a really nice group of people, and it's a fun thing to do.
How long have you done that?
Since 2001, just a year before I retired.
I see. All right. So that one's lasted some time then.
Yes.
Do you have any particular pieces that you've made that you're particularly proud of?
Most of them.
Oh, all right. Well, I have to get a picture of one.
I actually have pictures on my cell phone of some
wonderful.
of them.
We'll have to put those on the digital.
That would be fun.
And you are a member of the Buffalo Snowbirds
That's
chapter.
the chapter of the National Society.
What are the Buffalo Snowbirds?
It's a group of between 50 and 60 members right now. As I say, we meet monthly. We have seminars from local people that belong to the group. We also have national artists come in. Some of the national artists travel all over the world teaching. And they come in. We get probably 3 of them a year that will do a 2-day seminar for us. We do memory boxes we've painted for years that we give to area hospitals.
Really?
For parents that had stillborn babies or babies that died very early.
Now, how long have you done that?
That's been ever since I've been in the group. They have been doing that.
I think I own one of those.
You may.
I think I do.
And every now and then we get a letter from parents that they're just overwhelmed with the generosity of people doing that for them.
We were quite stunned by it. We lost a child.
Sorry that happened.
It was in Amherst. This would have been about 2000. Yep, and a hand-painted memory box.
Yes.
Yes, that was so kind. So that's a wonderful thing to do.
It is. Every now and then, as I say, somebody comes in to talk with the group, representing maybe one of the hospitals. And sometimes, unfortunately, they will get in touch with us and tell us they're in dire need of more. And that's very sad, but anything that you can do to help somebody feel a little bit better at the time is heartwarming.
Yes, that's a wonderful thing to do, because it's a tough moment. It
I'm
really
sure.
is.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. So, I think we've got a very good interview here. I'm going to give you the last but most difficult question. Are you ready?
Sure.
So let's imagine a generation from now that your grandchildren are telling their children about you. What would you hope they would say?
Well, I only have one grandchild, and I'm thinking he'll be the only one I have. And I hope people say that he remembers me from when he was really little. I think when he was a year, I drove out from Buffalo to Akron to babysit him 2 days a week when he was a baby. And we just did fun things together. And so he will remember that. I hope he'll remember when I moved to Akron. And he still spends a couple of days a week at my house. And my daughter also is back home from New York City living with me. So between the two of us, he's off today to a park in Buffalo, a museum, a children's museum in Buffalo. And I think he'll remember we used to go to McDonald's every Thursday, Dollar General next door afterwards. And going to the park to play on the playground, including the little one here in Russell Park right in the village. I hope he has very fond memories.
Well, that's a very nice answer. And on that note, I will thank you so much, Mary, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm pleased with what you're doing.
Thanks for listening in, and remember to tune in to the next episode of Remembering Akron.